Maybe you're one of those people, many people that are out there that know that maybe in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, that you may need a different living situation. Maybe your lifestyle has changed and you no longer need this gigantic 2-story house with a yard and, a full array of bedrooms and all of those different things. So you are looking towards the future to see possibly what you might need. And I don't know if you're like me, but I don't like to be told what to do. And usually I'll do the opposite. And so what we talked about here in this series in the first video is how important it is to create a plan. Even if that plan, you never need it, maybe you won't need it till next year, maybe you won't need it for another couple years, but to have a plan in place where you are in control of what you are selecting. And this is part 2 of step 1, which is still more planning. So the first part was really asking questions, like what are some of those really important questions that we need to ask ourselves if we need to move on to a different living situation? What's important to us? Financial questions, those types of things that you can look at. This section is more about getting out there and kind of digging in, doing a little research to see what is available so that you can start putting together a plan. Again, this could be something you never use in the future, but having a plan in place will give you some peace of mind as well as other people in your lives. So let's jump in. My name is Julie Spalding. I sell real estate here in the Kansas City market, and we are going to talk today about senior living options. So one of them that can be a really nice option, especially if you maybe still are ready to own a place, a house, an apartment, a townhome, a patio villa, is to live in something like a 55 and older community. Now in Kansas City here, we don't hear a ton about those, but they are out there. And one of the things that we can search, like in our MLS, is we can try to find and search out those 55 and older communities. Those communities can often give you a lot of good social interaction. Maybe you just don't want a zillion kids running around you, and so it's an opportunity to be with maybe more of your peers. And a lot of times they're maintenance provided, which is another thing that we can search for, is those homes where you don't have to take care of the yard. Some of them you don't even have to take care of the exterior of the home. And maybe that's the next level you're at, right? Or maybe you just need something that has a better floor plan. You don't want to be going up and down the stairs. You want the laundry on the main floor, those types of things. So we can easily search for those if you're wanting to still own a property and make that so that it's a home that you could live in maybe for several more years. Another opportunity, which I'm going to say this one first because it kind of takes in a lot of the other options, and they are community care retirement centers. You often may see them referred to as CCRC. Also, sometimes people say life care communities. They have set up their community so that there are several different layers of care. So maybe you're more independent, you don't need any medical care, that type of thing, they have that section. But as you progress, or maybe you have a spouse that is at a different level of care than you are, it could be an opportunity for both of you to live in the same space, because these continuing care communities offer continuing care. That seems in the name. But as you need more health care, you can move along, and it's all within one community. We have a few of those around here. Tallgrass Creek is one in Overland Park. I actually have a client who is just moved in last week, and she loves it. She's going there for more social interaction. She doesn't have any health care concerns, but she's just needing to be somewhere where there's more people around. She lived in a home and her spouse had passed a couple years ago, and it just starts to get lonely. So this was an important move for her, one that she chose. Her and her husband actually went there several years ago before he passed and just kind of checked it out. They had a plan in place ahead of time. And so she felt pretty good taking this next step because her and her husband had been there, had talked about it several years ahead of time. So that's part of the reason why we're talking about this now. It may be something that you never do. It may be something where you never move, but having that control, knowing that you have options available to you, is very reassuring. And if for some reason your spouse passes or you pass, that your spouse, your family can know your intentions. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the next video as well. So continued care retirement communities, CCRC. So the next kind of option that we'll talk about as far as senior living would be independent living. And very similar to kind of what I've talked about in, the 55 and older communities, maybe the other life care communities or continued care communities, is an independent living community where you have opportunities to go out, have your car, do what you want to do, but also have that social interaction. Maybe there's a few more meals prepared here. One thing to know about independent living is that they are not state licensed, so they're not going to offer you any type of health care benefits. So if you start to have more medical needs down the road, you'd need to move to probably a different facility unless you're in something that is continued care. So the next step is kind of that assisted living communities. So assisted living communities are, have adults that are really still wanting some independence, but also need some more of those activities, those daily life activities, ADLs they like to call them, that maybe you need some help with taking medication or fixing meals or bathing. Some of those things that maybe on a daily basis or maybe that are just getting a little bit more difficult to do. So with all of these services in assisted living, it really is designed to cater to each individual's circumstances. So, my grandmother is in assisted living, and I talked about her in the previous video, and she has one medication, and she said to them, no, I don't need you to help me with my medication. It's a sleeping pill, and I know when to take it. So she's like, I don't need anything. But she did, for a little while, need some help with bathing because she was feeling very unsteady. So she needed somebody in there for that. Now she's kind of moved on, and she doesn't need assistance with that. So they will tailor it to your needs. Another senior option is memory care for those people who are having some cognitive health issues. So if you are looking at a memory care unit, make sure you look at what they have past what you need right at this point. Do you think you might need end of care? Do you need to look to the future? Just kind of ask some of those questions as well. So the final healthcare senior community option are the long-term healthcare communities or the skilled nursing communities. And these are for people who are definitely, they're needing more medical care, maybe not to the point where they need to be in a hospital, but needing, regular medications, needing to see doctors, needing to have that continued health care. And for some people, this is somewhere that's long-term. So for some people, this could be something that's a little bit shorter term for rehab or until people get stronger and can move into maybe independent living or assisted living. So here's just kind of a gamut or just an overview of the different options that are available out there. And so also in the notes, you can see you can download some more questions that you could ask as you're out touring different communities. And then also, like I mentioned, a timeline if you did want to move, as well as a way to compare just all of the different options that the different places offer, because sometimes it gets a little confusing and it's difficult to keep it all straight in your mind. When I'm out showing houses, we try to keep like a rolling top 3. So I think that's part of, maybe you want a rolling top 5, but if you go to see something else and it's definitely in the top 3 or the top 5 and something else then just needs to drop off, right? Like I wouldn't keep more than a list of 5 that maybe you want in one of these certain categories because it just becomes too overwhelming. All right, so that is our recap of the different senior living opportunities. Feel free to go back to the first video and find out some of those questions you may want to ask before you even get out there to tour. And then the next video in the series is how to communicate that with families and how to find those right professionals to help you into that next phase if you're ready for that. All right, I will see you next time and happy downsizing.